the United States. It's following on from those allegations against Russia of interference in the US elections. And also we've been hearing this evening harassment of American diplomats based overseas. Well, Dr. Arash Aramesh is a US foreign policy expert. He joins us now on webcam from Houston. Dr. Aramesh, thank you very much for joining us here on BBC News. First of all, how likely was it that America was going to take some kind of retaliatory action like this?
It was almost certain after what Russia did to U.S. elections, trying to influence the presidential elections via hacking and sort of hacking the emails of the Democratic National Committee and also many other Hillary Clinton campaign officials, and then leaking that information slowly and gradually to WikiLeaks or to other Republican operatives, and also to the news media. And also taking other actions. For instance, the past 3 to 4 years, Russian operatives have been trying to hack the State Department. They've been trying to attack, the Pentagon, Department of Defense, National Security Agency, and so on and so forth. So because we've had this pattern of Russian cyber attacks, it was easy to identify the signature this time. What's different is the level of seniority involved, or the senior level of sort of government officials involved in this. It turns out that all 17 U.S. intelligence agencies, including the CIA and the FBI, are in agreement that senior officials in Russia, as high as President Vladimir Putin, were behind this. They orchestrated it, and they wanted to make sure to influence the U.S. elections in favor of one candidate and against the other. And that's what makes it so important. And that's why it was certain that President Obama, while still in office, would take action not only against this sort of cyber attacks, but also against the Russian meddling and Russian actions, especially what transpired in the past 6 months.
But Russia has denied any involvement in these hacking, the allegations that have been made. We've also had now a member of the Russian upper house of parliament saying that these expulsions are signs of the death throes of political corpses, dismissing what's been done by the outgoing Obama administration. So what's likely to happen now in terms of escalation on the Russian side?
They're also going to retaliate. Most likely, there's going to be harassment of U.S. officials in Russia. Ambassador Michael McFaul, who was U.S. ambassador to Russia for a few years, and now he's back at Stanford University teaching there. He has many tales of Russian government harassing U.S. diplomats and their families. For instance, the Russian officials would go on live TV and talk about U.S. diplomats and their backgrounds and their, private matters and so on and so forth. So this is nothing new. They're going to retaliate. It depends on how much they can retaliate. But it's clear that Russia and President Putin and his crowd are hopeful that a new incoming Trump administration is going to be much more Russia and Putin friendly than a Obama administration was. And they were confident, and they knew this for certain, that a Hillary Clinton administration would have been much more hostile to Russia and Vladimir Putin. So while President Obama has implemented these sanctions, the Russians are hopeful that the incoming president, President Donald Trump, would have a more positive outlook toward Russia. And that is why exactly President Obama implemented these sanctions and took action today. It would be hard politically for a Republican president, or for any American president for that matter, to try to undo justified and just actions against the Russians just to be nice to the Russians. So it's going to be hard for Trump to do this, politically. But
just very, very briefly, if you would, how can Donald Trump ignore all of those US intelligence agencies who are all saying the same thing?
Because Donald Trump can do things and get away with it. And he has done so in the past. He will probably continue to do so. But his luck will come to an end at some point. He's not going to have this free ride and this free reign for forever. It's going to come to an end. But so far, he's been able to defy wisdom and defy conventional wisdom and defy gravity. But I don't think that's going to last forever. Even his own base is going to be dissatisfied and alienated if he bends over backwards for the Russians and in front of Russians.
Dr. Arash Aramesh, US foreign policy expert, thank you very much for joining us.